Okay, so for this drawing, I decided to just slightly prep the paper first. I put just a light stain of coffee just to take the whiteness out of the paper. Then just working with a pencil, just sketching. Um, I found it best to go from the back, look a bit in the background first, and then start working my way up to the foreground. When sketching, try to use as much continuous line as possible. So continuous line is when obviously you're drawing but trying not to take your pencil off the paper. This just helps me move around the image as quick as I can. I mean, this is just a sketch, just to give me a rough guideline as to where to work with the materials. So just using a selection of shapes just to give an essence of the textures in the mountain, all the different shapes of the gatherings of trees and bushes. Again, they're not accurate, and some of them are just simply marks, just to try and give me a base area as to where to build up the tone with the pen. So once I've got the majority of the background kind of structure down, the image I selected, I liked the way the fence broke up the image, and I think it's very important when you're selecting the landscape that you wish to draw in the style of Kiffin that you think about the viewpoint and the composition of the photograph, so having enough information in the background, the middle ground and the foreground. Particularly like the way in the photograph there was some wonderful textures right at the front of the landscape, and you really got the rural kind of weathered fence kind of breaking up obviously all the beautiful textures in the mountain behind. So again, the sketch of the pencil is not accurate because I'm trying to do it as quickly as possible. Again, trying not to take my pencil off the paper, just giving a rough guide. For angles, just simply lifting up my pencil, squinting with one eye, trying to map the angles of the sides of the fence. Obviously these will be refined later with a pen, so I'm not worrying about using rubber. I'm not worrying about whether they're accurate. The beauty of Kiffin's work when he's outside is that he works in weather of all condition, and in fact he actually preferred to work outside in the wind and the rain and very kind of dark days due to his epilepsy. So the weather would have been bad, he would have to have moved extremely quickly, so spending a long time sketching technical drawings isn't really what you need to do at this stage. So once I've got the majority of the landscape sketched out, I started with just a generic black felt tip pen. I just wanted to start kind of just bring out some of the darker patches of the landscape that I could see. So not shading as such, just a suggestion of marks. So when I build in the tone later with some of my other materials, and obviously when I plan to blend with some water, I have that base kind of bluey tone that comes from the felt tip pen. So now I have started to work on top with a fine liner pen. For the darker areas, as you can see, I'm working primarily in scribbles, just building them up in areas where I can see texture within the landscape. I'm moving very, very fast. Some kind of patchy areas it doesn't have so much texture, I'm just kind of leaving just a very light scribbles. Obviously details such in the foreground, such as the line work in the fence and the bolt and the rusted nails, trying to make sure that the strongest of the detail and the tone is right up front to help with the perspective of the landscape. Again, I do not intend for this drawing to be perfect, as it's a drawing that I want to do at speed. Ideally, from this now, I would be able to get a good idea of all the wonderful textures in the landscape and transfer this into a painting. This would very much be a preliminary drawing, which I would do just to record everything that I could see in front of me. So I find it easier, as I said, working from the background up to the foreground. So then I am having to, as you can see here, work in some of the more stronger details in the front in regards to the bushes and the grass and all the details you can see that sits behind the fence. Now I'm using a fine liner pen. The reason I'm using this is because when I come to using the water, it runs quite nicely, which can help add tone to your drawing. But you can play around with different fine liner tips. So for darker areas you can get a slightly thicker tip. For finer areas, obviously, you can experiment with different variations of these. There might be areas in there that you don't want to blend out, so a simple black biro pen can build up some lovely textures in a drawing. Equally, you can work more with the felt tip pens. Kyffin Williams often worked with different coloured pens as well as just black ink, purely because of the way they move with the water and the way you have to work quickly with them and produce quite confident marks because they're such a thick material. I think the key thing when trying to achieve a drawing like this is that you don't try and get it perfect. There are areas of this landscape that if I was to draw perfectly, I would have spent a lot more time making sure the angles were correct, but I wanted it just to be an essence, a very quick drawing, just capturing mainly the texture, the perspective and all the lovely structures and details that you can find within the landscape. So the kind of marks that I'm using here, again, as you can see, majority scribbles. Do use quite a bit of crosshatch. There was one quite flat dark patch to the mountain, so obviously at the back, so I've tried to build that up a little. I'm trying to use the tone of the pen to make that look like it's sitting at the back of the landscape. So I've decided to leave the fence at the front to the very end, because obviously it would be very difficult to draw all the textures around it if I'd put it in first. So mainly scribbles, just to get a base layer down, and I can see there's a patch of land, just trying to bring that structure across. So even just how you would shade with a pencil, going from dark to light, you can achieve the same technique with a pen just by obviously controlling the pressure that you put down on the pen. Obviously no rulers or anything are used, just had to go by eye. Again, some of the lines are a little messy. I'm not really worried about that, as it is intended to be quite an expressive drawing, and just capturing the key outlines and structures. And the last thing then, and this is the bit I tend to enjoy the most, is obviously working with the water, trying to get a bit of contrast, trying to run some of these pens out, and it gives you some lovely kind of patches. It is especially nice to take some of the ink from the landscape, and if you wanted very subtle tones in the background, then you can add to them there.